All right, guys. Well, speaking of putting in the least amount of effort, Sony has announced that they're going to be making a Helldivers movie. Yes, and since Dutch Butters runs the gaming channel and Helldivers 2 is his game of choice, I wanted to highlight this thing to kind of get him and Salty's take on it. So Sony is making not only a Helldivers 2 movie, but a Horizon Zero Dawn movie as well. And it seems like Sony finally woke up to the fact that, hey, gamers might like to check out movies. Super Mario Brothers did really well. Sonic's doing really well. We have all these movie or video game properties. Why not do something with them? So, Dutch Butters, what do you think about the announcement that Sony is going to be adapting Helldivers 2 into a actual movie?
Well, if it happens in 3 years from now, when it'll actually come out, then I'll be excited and stoked about it. It'll be fun. But they need a good director. They need a good writer. So until they announce those things, this is just another, just dust in the wind, man. Until I see some actual news. This is no different than Disney coming out and saying, "Hey, we're going to make a bunch of crappy Star Wars movies to get some social media exposure and talk going, and then it'll go away." Then they don't do it. So until I actually see it happening, until I see a trailer, I'm not going to get super excited about it. What is that, Tom?
That's Starship Troopers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We already got one at home.
Yeah, and we have Starship Troopers as well.
We do. We have that already.
It's not starring John Helldiver though, so I guess we'll see how it goes.
It's not starring Dutch Butters.
It's Dutch Butters, and
because by the time this movie comes out, I want you to be a household name in the Helldiving community, so that they have to put you in there.
Yeah. To be the Asmongold of the Helldivers world. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're gonna put him behind a desk and as an extra.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
I don't know if our audience knows this or not, but we actually have two of the developers from Helldivers 2 on the panel right now. What do they think? What do they think of the potential of their game being turned into a movie?
Is that an inside joke?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a very good thing. When this movie starts to come out, it's going to be lots of very diverse and exclusive gay Helldiver people going to be on the show. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be very good.
Yerker, you know for a fact that we're not supposed to be giving away any trade secrets from the movie development that we were specifically hired to go do. Okay.
Is that Chris Hemsworth?
You need to really keep your mouth shut, okay? You need to learn your lesson.
I can't do this. I can't do this.
What accents are these?
These are really bad Norwegian accents.
Norwegian?
Yeah.
No,
it was Russian.
No, not even close.
Not even close.
They're not even close.
Maybe a Russian, Mongolian, perhaps.
I don't think Tom knows about Norsemen. I think those are spot on.
Yeah.
That is 100% Arvid and Yerker.
Does he know who my fucking boss is?
I don't think he does, Tom.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know who Andre is, dude.
Andre's very Norwegian. Very Norwegian. Yes.
It doesn't sound like that.
No.
A little bit.
You know what's funny though?
Really.
You know what's funny though?
A little bit.
That sounded like Chris Hemsworth, only gay.
The actual freaking CEO of the Helldivers 2 Arrowhead development team sounds exactly like that.
You might be right. All the Norwegians sound different. That's the problem.
It's pretty funny.
Well, Tom, as you pointed out, we already have Starship Troopers, which Helldivers 2
I don't really know
is based
anything
on.
About this Helldivers thing all that much, other than it's based upon this, which I agree there are certain properties, Matt, that can totally be translated into movies. Mario Brothers, Sonic, Mortal Kombat. That's about it. Other than that, it's already a ripoff of something else. So we're getting Steve the movie.
Well, that's the bugs.
That's a multiplicity reference, by the way.
Bugs are just part of it. There's Terminators. There's bugs. There's I don't know what the Illuminate would be a ripoff of. Probably Space Elves. Yeah, I guess so. But there's all kinds of things that influence this game. So, and I think it's all super fun.
Well, just my understanding is it's basically influenced by Starship Troopers.
Sure. There's a lot of that in there.
So we're getting a carbon copy of a carbon copy. Is what I was getting at, kind of.
Could be, but I doubt that's what's going to happen. We'll see how it goes. We'll see.
All right, Odin. Sony just gave up on their Marvel properties because they were so bad. Do you think that will translate over into their video game properties?
I haven't honestly followed the Sony stuff enough to say, like, have they actually given up completely on it, or they just have no actual plans right now for their Sony content? Because I think it was more of they were going this direction, and it clearly didn't pan out for them with films like Morbius, etc. But that they're not necessarily giving up on it like completely. I think it's like back to the drawing board type of thing.
Well, they're still doing the Tom Holland Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
they don't have access to any other Marvel properties other than the Spider-Man
There's
universe.
nothing in
So,
development right now.
Yeah, which basically means that like basically it's on the back burner, and so like theoretically in the next year we could hear.
But
something.
the Marvel movies were so bad that they had to abandon their plans. So,
Yeah.
The
you think
rumor
that,
going around is that Tom Holland killed it, and there's actually rumors that they're trying to work out a deal with Sony just to sell Spider-Man back, or Disney, I mean, to just sell Spider-Man back to them.
I don't believe that Tom Holland has that kind of power. I don't
It
believe
has
that.
nothing to do with Tom Holland. It's Tom Rothman. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was like Tom
Did
Holland.
I say Tom
like,
Holland? I'm sorry. I meant Tom Rothman.
That's what
Tom
I thought I heard. At
Rothman's
least.
like, enough of this, because they are just costing them money.
Yeah, I was going to challenge you to be like, I don't think a guy that says, "Oh yeah, you know, when we have kids, I'm going to retire from acting."
Sorry, I meant Tom.
Is the kind of guy
Tom
that's
Rothman,
going
not
to
Holland. Yeah,
have the
there's
kind of
too many
power
Toms,
to.
and I'm one of them.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah, but
because
do
the
you
other
think-
problem is Spider-Verse 3 hasn't even been put into production yet, and that makes no sense because that's been the only other success they've had.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason that makes sense to me that they haven't is because Tom Rothman's like, well, we aren't getting any of the toy money, so there's no reason to keep pushing forward with these movies. Because the movies themselves, as Odin will tell you, don't make the Spider-Verse movies have been on the low end of the box office.
I mean, they're fine. Like it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, they can make their money back and maybe make a little.
But they're not
bit.
getting the $2 billion in toy sales. That's what pissed Tom Rothman off.
Absolutely. And like they're not like some of the other larger titles which can bring in, even if you weren't getting the toy sales, right, you would still be getting kind of a big payday from the box office. That's just not happening with these. Like they do fine. But yeah, as far as like whether or not this will translate over like the type of failures that we're seeing from them in the Marvel sphere translate over to the films, it's really hard to see. I mean, Sony is one of those interesting companies where it's kind of like a mixed bag of things, right? There's some things that they can do okay, there's other things that they don't do well, but at least they're not like a Lionsgate, which is just like at the point now where everything they do is complete garbage and they're not making money on anything that they're doing. And this has been like the last like two years or so that's been happening. So at least they're not that far. I mean, but
you guys are talking about this live action Spider-Man with Tom Holland, not the animated Miles Morales.
Spider-Verse it was the animated ones.
No, I'm talking about the animated ones. They still haven't got part 3 in production yet. It's just sitting there, and nobody knows why.
So, Brian, you know, famously, video games have fared not very good being adapted to the big screen, but there seems to be a turnaround here where basically you have these animated versions like Super Mario Brothers, Sonic, and stuff like that are really, you know, being really successful. And Sony is sitting on a ton of video game properties, and they're like, hey, why don't we start adapting some of these to movies? However, you know, it's been Hollywood still hasn't cracked that nut on how to like figure out how to successfully adapt video games. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know how to do it. You know, I remember watching the trailer for Doom with The Rock. Do you guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Carl
and I
Urban,
remember,
The Rock, yeah.
and I remember seeing the footage where they showed the first person,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember in the trailer, and I remember thinking, "Oh my God, have they done it?
Yeah.
Have they finally cracked the code?" Because for a couple minutes in the movie, there is this footage of the first person shooter. Could it be the same level of excitement? And then you watch the movie, and clearly they did not.
Well, there's that one really cool scene in that movie though, where they like go into video game mode. I thought that was kind of fun.
And then it
the
fades
scene I'm
out of
talking
it.
about.
And you're like,
But yeah, it's
that's
neat.
it.
I like-
Oh, interesting.
That's what I'm talking about. Like,
but it's like 30 seconds long, right?
Yeah, it's a minute and 80,
Right.
you know, 37 seconds. The thing is, that one scene was really cool. But
Yeah.
the rest of the other hour and a half long, it sucked.
Yeah.
One exception.
Right.
Sepa 5, mother effer.
Okay, that was
Yeah.
good.
I thought that was hilarious.
I will-
And I like the scene where they finally explained to normies what the BFG gun is. I thought that was cool. But the thing is, like they really have a hard time adapting video games. Then like a few years later, I watched Warcraft, and that video game was a pretty good adaptation of the first Warcraft.
They just told the wrong story.
But it was the wrong story because
Yeah.
by the time they made the movie, the gamers who wanted to see that story were already three sequels into a game. They're already on Frozen Throne and WoW is starting. So they're making the first story, and we've already seen that story. We're literally a decade beyond that because it takes way longer to make a movie. So I think it's all about picking the right property, picking the right writer, and this is probably for anything, but specifically for video games, picking the right property and picking the right writer who actually likes the game. Which the first Witcher season wasn't bad, but to be fair, you had someone like Cavill who was
terrible.
like a huge video game.
Isn't that more based on the books though too?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's true. But you had someone who was sitting in the corner being like, no, this has to be this way. We got to do it this way. So you need to have someone who loves that game in order to make a movie based on that game, because he's going to know, he or she or whatever is going to know what the gamers want to see. And if you please the primary audience, then they'll get the word out and the rest of the people will show up.
So Matt asked about specifically about the Mario Brothers and the Sonic movies when you first asked that question. And those movies, to me, they stuck to the source material. They did not make movies that seemed like they were woke and full of a bunch of DEI nonsense. And they were
Sonic
fun.
stuck to the source material after they stumbled.
Sonic did that thing where they came out there with that hideous looking Sonic. And everybody said, "Nope, we're not watching that shit."
What?
And they went back in there and then they made Sonic. They brought Sonic onto the movie screen.
Right.
And I've only seen the first movie. I haven't seen the other two, but my understanding is that they've kept up with just the family friendly fun.
I just watched the third
stories, and that everybody I know loves these movies. I can't say personally because they're not really my thing, but I know that they've been trying to just make fun entertainment again with these specific movies. And I know I love the Mario movie. I thought it was fantastic, so they need to keep making movies like those and not go down these stupid
do you
woke paths
guys
that
know
everybody's doing. So
you guys know what else we love? Super chats.
Well,
We got
I just want to
let me read this and then you can have your final thought, Tom. The mum for 199 was only showing up just to see Dutch. I'm good now.
Here I am.
Dutch, you've lost us ratings. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was just going to say, like, the debate you guys are all having here is the exact reason why there'll never be a thing. It's never going to be a thing. There's never going to be a video game movie genre craze like there was with comic book movies and other things like that, because it's just an incompatible thing. And this is coming from somebody who's been a film fan my whole life, raising a video game fan, a kid who didn't want to watch movies and television, but loved video games. And the difference is the audiences. Yes, there's a little bit of a crossover, but there's such a different audience, and it's just never going to work. There's too many variables, too many differences, unless you're talking about the few exceptions like Mario, Sonic, which are now on a level of like Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse, right? Like there was a time back when there was a story put out there that Mario was the most recognizable character in the world over Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny. So that is a big reason why Mario works. Sonic is a similar situation. But when you're getting into the nitty-gritty of some of these other games, like, it's really difficult for all the reasons you guys just were debating and talking about, to pick and choose what it is to translate over into the other medium, because what a game means to one person means something completely different to another. The way games are written and formulated is completely different than any other medium, to where a book is a lot easier to adapt into a movie, or a TV show is a lot easier to adapt into a movie. A game, it's like, where do you start unless it's something like Witcher, where there is a book series to go back to, right? Like, again, there's another exception to the rules. Look at Last of Us. It's a great example of how some people say it's a great series, but a lot of people dislike it, right? Like in Mortal Kombat, the movie that came out like 2 years ago, right? Some people thought it was fine, but a lot of the gamers, they were debating left and right, back and forth on what it was and all this other shit. And it's like, this right here is why video game movies will never be a thing, because it's worse than comics and anything else when it comes to the fan base and what their expectations are to be put up on the screen. And on top of that, when we already have movies that feel like video games, that's a problem, right? When I go to the last 2 John Wick movies and I'm like, where's the controller? Because I feel like I should just be playing the game at this point, right? That's another problem. So to me, like, cool, Doom has a gimmick and it works. But when you start doing shit like that for every game, it's just like, I might as well just be playing the game. Why am I watching something that I'm not interacting with? Because a big part of what makes a video game special is the interaction that you get with it, right? So you lose that if there's no character to relate to, and Mario is a character you can relate to. Certainly the other characters you can relate to. But that's what I was getting to earlier, is when we're getting to carbon copies of other things, and things that are kind of based upon the idea of, and you know, how many games are like post-apocalyptical worlds, however you say that, like Mad Max, right? So before we know it, if you start doing all those games, it's just going to feel like we're getting a bunch of copying of other movies already. So that's what I was trying to get at, is you're already starting to mix too much shit together that just, it's like, what is it you're going to pinpoint to really get people on board?
You know, the other thing is, and Matt, I know you want to move on, but I have one more comment I want to say. You know, we've been playing Mario games since the early 80s. You know, I grew up with Mario. Everybody on this panel grew up with Mario. The whole planet. If you have a TV, you grew up playing Mario Brothers. There's so many millions of people and generations of people, multiple generations of people that have grown up in that world. So it wasn't a shock to me that movie was so successful. Kind of the same with the Sonic stuff. There's tons of people to play those games. Now, I'm a little bit worried about this whole Helldiver thing, because I never heard of the first Helldiver movie until we started playing Helldivers 2, or for the first Helldivers game. I still haven't ever played it. And, you know, I don't know if the Helldivers fan base is big enough to even remotely support a big studio movie. I don't see, if they put Helldivers the movie out today, I think it would just flop like nothing's ever flopped before. So they have a lot of work to do.
That thinking is exactly what the studios think every time they make a video game movie, and they go, well, we have to make it for normies because the gamers aren't going to support, or isn't enough to support this movie.
Because 100,000 people that play the game every day isn't even remotely close enough.
And I get that,
a big movie.
But you still got to make it for those guys. You got to make it for those guys, and try to make it commercially valuable from there.
They got to make it in the line of like, okay, we know this is going to be a niche, like almost a B, especially for Helldivers 2, because it has that B movie quality to it already, with the camp. Just lean into that, and if it's don't spend $2 billion making the movie, make it for freaking $100 million or whatever. You're like, you don't have to spend.
Make it for 20 million and hope you can make 100 off.
Like make it make it cheap, make it low budget. Like, who gives a shit? It's just
make Starship Troopers and call it Helldivers. That's all you gotta do. This isn't hard.
It's really not.
I liked Helldivers when I played it, but it feels like playing Starship Troopers. It does.
Yeah, for sure.